Okay, it is 6:10 p.m. on December 11th, 2024. This is a meeting of the Katuitt Fire District Prudential Committee. Can I get a roll call? Mark Lynch,
Fran Parks.
Seth, I see you there. Can you just unmute and
Yep, Seth Burdick present.
okay. Also present are our consultant, Janelle V. Martinez, our treasurer, Ray Perrone, assistant treasurer, Lisa Haven, clerk, Charlie Eager, and a member of the public, Patty Daly, who is on our in an advisory role on our committee to assess the proposal that we received in response to our request for proposal relating to the Katuitt School renovation or demolition. Unfortunately, Mr. Grissetti is not available at this time. He likewise was an advisory member of this committee, or of this group, I guess I should say. My understanding is that to discuss this proposal, we need to go into executive session, which I propose to do, which I understand also requires a vote. Yes. Can I get a motion?
I make a motion to go into executive session to discuss the request for proposal that we received to read this Katuitt School.
Seconded?
Second.
Mark Lynch, aye.
Fran Parks, aye.
Seth Burdick, aye.
Okay, we are going to go into executive session. At this point, there are no members of the public. Lisa, if you see any, is it possible for you to alert them that we are in an executive session?
I see no members of the public. And when you go into executive session, am I pausing the recording or stopping the recording?
That is up to you. We need to have a recording of the executive session. If no members of the public come in, we can just have our executive session. And then if we go back into, no, you're shaking your head.
I cannot, when you want the public portion of the meeting to be posted on the website, and I cannot trim out the recording of the executive session. Therefore, we might have to have 3 recordings if that works.
Okay, I'm just going to record it, Lisa.
Thank you. So I'm going to pause this recording and you're going to record the executive session.
I'm recording now. I'm going to end
we
my
need to
recording.
Vote to go out of executive. We have to vote to go out of executive session. I make a motion that we go out of executive session.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Name? No, name. Yes, Fran Parks.
Okay.
Seth Burdick, aye.
Mark Lynch, aye. Okay. Lisa, we having just voted to go back out of executive session, can you restart the Zoom recording? You're muted.
The recording has been started.
Great, thank you. So go ahead, Fran.
Say something before we talk about the state contract list. We previously, when we did the space needs, we used Catalyst. We're using Catalyst once again for the fire station. So I'm pretty sure that fulfills the requirement of Catalyst being, our go-to architectural firm. So I would like to go with Catalyst. We know more about them. We don't get quite as much information as my understanding from Janelli. But when you go by the list, that's not not the same as they don't answer an RFP. They give you their basic um, uh, requirements, and that's that. So I'd rather speak to the people at Catalyst before we do anything else.
Okay. Let me just briefly sum up because we went into executive session, we came out of executive session. Jen Elvey, I assume it's appropriate to now report the results of what happened in the executive session.
Yes.
Okay.
If you like me, you can go ahead and explain
the
committee's
we
decision.
had one response to our one proposal from our request for proposals, and this group, all voting members plus Patty Daly, concluded that the proposal did not meet the minimum evaluation requirements to proceed with them. So we are now discussing proposed alternative methods of completing this study on a timely basis while making sure we obey all the Massachusetts government regulations relating to such a study and the hiring of someone to complete this study. Fran just suggested using Catalyst. If I may, Jan Elvey, if you can give us a brief summary of the alternative methods. One you've mentioned before, which Fran mentioned, is that we could go to an approved list of vendors that have been vetted by the state, correct?
Yes, so the Operational Services Division in the Commonwealth puts out their own bids for what is called a statewide contract. These contracts are eligible for use for any state agency, municipality, town, etc., nonprofit. Such list is called the facility. For facilities work is engineering and facility work. There is a list of vendors that were vetted and approved by the state to perform this work. It will help in a procurement sense. You don't have to go out to bid. You can solicit quotes directly from the list of vendors on that list. You are protected again as the procurement was done by the state of Massachusetts. So 30B was already followed. But again, engineering and architectural work is actually exempt from MGL Chapter 30B. So you can go in another direction, which is to pick a firm that the committee feels they're more familiar with or that they think could do a better job than the ones on the list. But if you'd like to look at a transparent process or get more quotes or just speak to more than one firm, I would suggest that reaching out by email to any of the ones on the list if you'd like, and then compare it to Catalyst's price if you want, or again, use the exemption and just say, hey, we have a vendor that we have used in the past. They currently work with departments within the town, and we trust them and would like to ask them to do this work for us.
So we literally could just call up Catalyst. And I believe we are all familiar with the work Catalyst has done for the fire department, as I believe is a significant portion of our citizens who've been following that. And we could simply go to them and say, here is our request for proposal. Are you interested in doing this, and how much would it cost?
Yes, you could provide them with a proposal that we created with more detail, or just quite frankly ask them, hey, this is the school list what we have. How much do you usually charge for a feasibility study, et cetera, or even what they think is the next best step. Maybe they don't think a feasibility study is needed. I think you can have any open conversation with them about what you'd like to do next.
Yeah, I think that the vote at the special district meeting requires us to do a study. Seth, Fran, would you agree with that?
I think so.
Feasibility study?
Well, I'm not sure. We're calling it a feasibility study. I'm not so hung up on what exactly how we term it, but we need someone to do what we set out in our request for a proposal or something very similar.
Correct. Yeah. Feasibility sounds like, is this possible to do? We know it's possible to do. So I would say that, we just need to give them call them up and see if they're interested first. They may not be interested in any more work from Katuitt. I don't know.
Yeah, and or they may not have the bandwidth.
Right.
And I think it probably makes sense for us to talk to at least somebody on the fire department, the fire commissioners, to make sure that we are not stepping on their toes in any way, or that they perceive we're stepping on their toes, given that presumably they're keeping Catalyst pretty busy.
Patty Daly has her hand raised.
Yeah, go ahead, Patty.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. It occurred to me in reading that one proposal that I really think we probably would benefit from a structural engineer being on the team, and the way the scope is written for the work, a multidisciplinary engineering firm seemed to me like could best serve the needs of the study. And I took some time yesterday to just go online and look, and there are a couple on the Cape. One is Coastal Engineering, which has, let's see, they have civil structural engineering and environmentally sensitive areas experience, and they're teamed up with Ty and Bond, which is a land use engineering firm. So they have a pretty broad spectrum of services they could bring. And the other one is McKenzie Engineering, which I don't know. They're in Brewster, apparently, but they're structural, architectural, civil, and environmental engineering. So I just thought it might be helpful to, if you are looking to get some comparisons, to that we could give them a call, or you all could. That's it. Thank you.
Mark?
Thank you.
We have a structural engineer right in Katuitt that would probably give us a decent price. He's I can never think of his he's Sarah Mycock's husband. I can't think of his last name. I can never remember it. But he's done work for people in Katuitt, and he's very good.
And Genevieve, I have the sense that we could do a combination of these things. We could reach out to Catalyst. We could reach out to companies that are on the list who we would not know as well. I mean, is there any downside if Catalyst has the capacity and we know them well? And is there any downside to asking them for a quote kind of first off?
No, as far as that.
No, I don't
Go
think
ahead.
so. Sorry, I put in the chat the subsection of the law that will protect you, that allows you to do this, just in case it's ever asked, but also so the public knows, just to fact check myself, obviously. But it's Chapter 30B, subsection 32A. So in the law, section 1B explains where the law is exempt. So 32A of all those exemptions is contracts with architects, engineers, and related professionals, which means that you can contract with such services without having to go through a procurement process. So I just want to make that clear to you all, if you need to explain it further. I don't see an issue going forward with a firm you already know and have worked with and the town is happy with. Again, if they are willing and able and have the bandwidth, and you feel that they are quoting you fair and competitively. But in order to check that, I would just ask one or two. I think in my line of work, I just like to check and ask. It doesn't hurt to send an email. I can even help draft the email or what that might look like for other firms. Here in Lawrence, we have one firm that is in Lawrence as well, that they get a lot of work from us, but I still try to ask departments to get quotes different times of the year for different projects, just in case. You never know. But again, you can do as you all please and as you feel most comfortable.
Okay, thoughts, Fran, Seth?
No, I think that makes sense to, speak to Catalyst, but also if you want to speak to one or two of the contractors on the state list, that's, fine.
Okay, why don't I propose this? Janelvi, can you draft up that little letter or memo or however we would describe it that we would kind of, I guess, be a cover letter for our request for proposal?
Yeah, I have no problem. I can put
Okay.
something together that makes sense and attach the RFP. I'd even venture out to the few folks that did ask us questions on the RFP, see maybe why they didn't finally put in a final proposal. Maybe they might be interested, but something stopped them. Just to give you all something to look at. I understand. Again, you all can make the decision you choose, but in a public session like this and the community being involved, it's always just best to have options, or say we went out for options.
Okay. Do I have this? Well, here's my proposal. I call Kevin Conley or the fire commissioners, tell them this is where we are in our process. We are contemplating using Catalyst. Can they recommend them? Do they have any problem with our utilizing their time? And while I'm doing that, Jen Elvey will draft some kind of letter or memo to and will provide the list of state vetted engineering firms to which we might also solicit a proposal, and that shortly we send that memo to at least Catalyst and perhaps two or three of the state vetted engineering firms. Do I have the approval from the group to proceed in that way?
That
Sounds
good.
fine to me.
Okay. I see Patty nodding her head. Is that? No, she's shaking her head.
I'm sorry. I think your motion limits the committee to only those vendors that are on the state contract. So there may be smaller firms, for example, on the Cape that aren't on the state list, but it's still legal to talk to them because they're engineering firms. And I invite
frankly,
Ms.
I'm trying to
Martinez.
keep my workload manageable.
We have Catalyst isn't a state firm. Catalyst is in Yarmouthport.
So that's not a state vetted.
No.
State vetted firm, but we can still proceed in that fashion.
Yes. I mean, if I may, I think if Patty, I don't mind. I mean, if you don't mind, Mark, we're sending maybe 2 or 3 more emails if you'd like to be more localized.
Okay, let's limit this to 5. How about that?
Okay.
All right. I don't think we need to have another meeting then before these proposals go out. I will talk to the fire commissioners and we'll proceed in this fashion. I'll call another meeting as soon as I have some kind of feedback to share with you all, which probably will be, what's it now, the 11th?
Yes.
Probably in the new year, unfortunately, but let's see.
Okay.
Any other, this is an open meeting at this point. Any public comment?
I do not see any public comment.
And I just thank you for allowing me to participate. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your assistance. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Correct.
Aye.